Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you and telling you all of the books I read in July. On my July TBR there was 9 books. Of those 9 I have read 5 of them, however my overall total books for this month is 9. So first I will tell you about the genres. I read 1 non-fiction, 1 graphic novel, 6 fantasies and 1 mystery/thriller. For star ratings, I have no 1 or 2 stars, 3 3 stars, 5 4 stars and 1 5 star. And for the formats, I have 6 physical books, 2 ebooks and 1 audiobook. So the first book I completed in July was Why Do Buses Come in Threes by Robert Easterway. This is a non-fiction maths book. It basically just talks about how maths is applicable in loads of real world scenarios, such as being in a traffic jam and just loads of random stuff like that you wouldn't necessarily think is that mathematical. I don't think this camera's straight. I need to straighten it up. Okay, hope that looks a bit better. This is the second book I've read by this author. The other one was The Hidden Maths of Sport, which was another non-fiction maths book. And I think I liked this one more because it talked about a whole range of different subjects. Because the thing I didn't really like about the hidden sports of maths was that it was kind of restricted about what it could talk about, and it just got a bit boring just constantly talking about sports, because like I love sport, but it was mainly focused on cricket and tennis, and I don't really care about cricket or tennis, so I didn't really like it that much. And yeah, I thought it was quite fun and interesting because of the things that it talked about and how you just wouldn't expect or think about how mathematical things that we just take for granted in daily life are. I don't really have much to say about this book because I just read it just because, and I don't really have anything objective to say about it. Also, I don't think anyone really cares, so I'm just gonna move on. Next, we have The Thanos Quest by Jim Starlin. This is a graphic novel about Thanos, and this is basically him going around the universe, around the multiverse, picking up the different Infinity Stones. Honestly, this was a bit boring. I honestly wasn't that much of a fan of it. Thanos is really egotistical, and I know that it was his character and he's supposed to be, but it was really boring and really annoying. And I just didn't care. The entire graphic novel was just him monologuing and just talking about himself, and I just didn't care at all. I write all of my book reviews in here, and I literally wrote, like, damn, we get it. You have a superiority complex, don't we all? Also, I think the thing that annoyed me the most about this graphic novel is just the sheer amount of times it said the word awesome. Like, literally everything was described as awesome, no matter what the context was. Like, it could mean awesome as in really cool, or it could mean awesome as in, like, really big. And I was like, please learn some more words. It was okay. I didn't hate it, but I gave that and Why Do Buses 3 stars. Next, we have my 1 5-star book of the month, one of my favourite books of the year. And that is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy, which is a adult high fantasy series in which we follow our main character Vin, who is a scar street urchin who has to master the magic of the metals, the power of being a Mistborn, allomancy, etc. in order to overthrow the empire that has been abusing and enslaving Vin's people for thousands of years. I thought this was so amazing. Vin definitely gives off Lila Bard vibes from the Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab, but I think this one came out first, so Lila has Vin energy, but I loved it so much. This book was just so great. I did do a full spoiler-free review of this book, and I will leave that linked in the description if you wish to hear my more in-depth thoughts. But yeah, this book was just so good. I highly recommend you read this, and I'm so excited to continue on with this series, and I will be doing that very soon. I think I've already said this, but I did give this 5 stars because I loved it so much. Next, we have These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. This is the first book in a YA fantasy duology in which we follow our main character Hannah, who is an elemental witch, and she has to work with her ex-girlfriend Veronica. They have to work together because Veronica is a witch as well, and they have to work together to try and stop the blood witch that has appeared in their town. But while doing this, while fighting this blood witch, Hannah also has to try and get the girl because she has a crush on Morgan, who is a cute new ballerina in town, it says in the description. This was honestly quite a lot of fun. It was quite a light-hearted read. It read more like a contemporary than a fantasy, and I suppose if you like contemporaries then they wouldn't be that bad, but I'm not a big fan of contemporaries, so I didn't really enjoy that aspect of it. The big reveal of like what is going on and like who is doing these things made me really sad because I really liked the character that did it, and I'm like, why do you have to be so awful? Like, why couldn't you just be nice? I enjoyed this a lot. I'm excited to read the sequel. I don't know when that's going to be. It's not like high on my priority list, but I definitely will read it at some point. And yeah, I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I think you'd like it too. There's a lot of diversity and a lot of LGBTQ plus rep in here, which I really liked. And yeah, definitely do recommend this book if you're looking for quite like a more light-hearted fantasy. This is that. Next, we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a YA mystery thriller in which we follow our main character Pip, who decides as her final year project she is going to investigate the disappearance and murder of Andy Bell in her town 5 years prior, because even though someone was charged with the murder, Pippa doesn't think that they did it, and she wants to try and see if she can solve this case, or at the very least prove Sal's innocence, because Sal is the guy who got charged. He was Andy's boyfriend. But someone is trying really hard to stop Pippa from working out the truth. So yeah, we just follow Pippa. She's trying to work out what actually happened in this case because she doesn't believe what everyone says. This overall was quite good, but I thought that the first half really dragged, and I was contemplating DNFing it because I really wasn't enjoying it. But then the second half of this book was so goddamn good. It not only did it save it, but it just completely excelled it into like another universe. It was so good. I do think that it was a tad too complicated. I think there was just one like little bit in there that just really didn't need to be in there. It just kind of ruined it a little bit for me. I would much rather it just have been this one thing, but then there was like multiple things going on and it just wasn't that good. And I think that character development could have been improved in spots. You didn't really learn much about any of the characters, so you couldn't really root for them all that much, but I liked and disliked who I was supposed to, and I was there for the ride, and it was not that bad. I'm not sure whether to give it a 4 or a 4.5 star. I'm kind of leaning more towards the 4 star because I don't want to overlook the fact that I didn't enjoy the first half of it, but it was so good to give it like much less than 4 stars. So yeah, 4 stars for this. I do recommend you read it because just the second half of it is so good, but obviously you have to read the first half to get to the second half, but like it's really good and it's worth it. I will probably read the sequel, but I have no idea. I haven't read anything about the sequel. I don't know what it's about. I don't know whether we follow Pip or whether we follow someone else doing something similar. I have no idea. Next, we have The Pale Dreamer by Samantha Shannon. This is a prequel novella to The Burn Season by Samantha Shannon, which is the first book in her YA series of the same name. There's not much I can really say about this because it was my first like introduction into this world. I hadn't read The Burn Season when I read this book, so I didn't know anything about this world, and Samantha Shannon did say that if you're like the reading order is read The Pale Dreamer first. I think you would enjoy it more if you read The Burn Season and then went back to it. It's a 96-page novella. You don't really go into detail. You don't really learn anything about the world or the characters that much. You learn more about Paige, our main character, and that's about it. So I think as a first introduction to this series and to this world, it probably wasn't the best, but it was still good. I still enjoyed it. We follow Paige, our main character, 3 years prior to the Burn Season, when Paige is first joining this criminal gang. That's literally all I have to say about this book, was that it was good, but I think I would have enjoyed it more if I'd read The Burn Season first. So I took it with a pinch of salt. Honestly, I did enjoy it, but it obviously was lacking a lot of things because it was so short. I'm not really judging Samantha Shannon on that, because it was really good. It was still good. For a 96-page novella, it was really good. Next, we have The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This is the first book in the Winter Night trilogy, which is a YA fantasy series in which we follow our main character Vasya, who can see household spirits. Yeah, she can see the house spirits that guard her home and sense the growing forces of dark magic in the wolf in the woods. Why did I say wolf? In this book, we follow main character Vasya, whose mother died when Vasya was born, like at birth. And when Vasya, I don't even know how old she is she like 10? When she's like 10 years old, her dad gets remarried to a devout Christian woman called Anna. And when Anna moves up to their small village in northern Russia, she brings with her a priest who makes it his mission to convert as many of the village people as he can away from worshipping these house spirits and worshipping God, because Christianity. But because the village people stop looking after the house spirits, they start to die, and Vasya has to try and save them and save the kind of village because of the dark forces in the wood, as I've already mentioned. This book was just so cool. Like, it was just really good. It was such a unique story. I don't think there's been anything like it. I don't think there will be anything else like it. I think people will try, but I don't think they will be successful because this was so good. I fell in love with the writing from the first chapter. It was so whimsical and so beautiful without being like too much. I know that sometimes with quite flowery writing, you're just like, yeah, like, let's get on with it. I feel like there was enough flower for it to be really beautiful and really pleasant, but not enough for it to just be like, this is too much. I thought it read more like an adult novel than a YA, because it is classified as a YA on Goodreads, and it is a YA, but I felt like it read more like an adult novel, which kind of confused me, and the vocab was a bit more complicated than I'm used to in a YA fantasy, and I did find myself reaching for my phone to find out what words meant, because I've never heard these words before. Which obviously reaching for my phone just took me out of the story and just completely disconnected me from this world, but I think that's more my fault really than the books. It's probably more my incompetence than anything else, so I'm not really going to hold it against it because I know that it is me being stupid. The romance isn't really there in this first book. I think I've heard that it is more prominent in the second book in the series, but the romance in this was really underlying and not really there until the end, but it was so unexpected, and I'm honestly really excited to see where it would go because you just would not expect that to happen. And I loved how the final scenes really brought together things that happened earlier on in the book and really tied it all together, and it was just really well done. I gave this 4 stars because it was really good, but it didn't completely blow me away, but I had a really fun time. Next, we have Come Tumbling Down by Sean Maguire. This is the 5th book in the Wayward Children series, which is a series I've been reading since the end of last year. I've been listening to the audiobooks for them all, and it's just a really fun time. They're quite short, quite easy to get through, but I think they're really, really good. This series takes place in a world where little kids are transported into these other worlds that fit them more nicely than the human, Earth world that we all know. For example, if a child is getting incessantly bullied and, really likes swimming, this is one of the characters in this book. She gets bullied for being fat, and she spends all of her free time swimming, but she still can't lose weight, and she gets bullied for that. One day a doorway opens, a portal opens that sends her to a mermaid world where everyone thinks that she's beautiful and she's not discriminated against because of her weight. She's just herself. But then later on in their lives, for whatever reason, they did something that got them kicked out of this world, sent back to the human world. They go to Eleanor's home for wayward children, and Eleanor kind of teaches them how to come to terms with the real world again and how to kind of leave that bit of their life in the past and try and move on. So yeah, this is the 5th book in this series, and in this one we are following Jack and Jill, who we meet in the first book and we follow them in the second one, and now they are back in the 5th one, and I'm really excited because they are my favourites. Well, Jack is my favourite. I love her so much. I'm really happy that we did get to see more of her because I love her so much. I do really wish that these books were longer because I really like them and I just wish I could, honestly, I wish I could just read them forever, but because they're so short, I just feel like they're a bit rushed and they could be a lot more developed and better because they are more developed. The world that we spent the majority of this book in creeped me out so much because it is really creepy and it's meant to be creepy, and I hated every minute of being in this world because it just icked me out. Ugh. It was so dark, and it was quite funny after I'd finished it, like looking back on the third book. In the third book, the world that we're in for the majority of that one is really happy and full of like everything is made of sweets and baked goods and everything's really happy and bright and colourful, and then we swapped to this one and I was like, oh my gosh. The sixth book in the series has been announced for January 2021 and I am very excited for that. I can't believe I've caught up with this series, to be honest. Like, when you think there's 5 books in a series, like, that's going to take you forever. And it just doesn't because they're really short, but I really like these books. And yes, I gave that one 4 stars. Oh, I forgot to mention, and it was so long ago, I gave The Pale Dreamer 3 stars. The final book that I will have finished in July is a book I have 50 pages left today, and there are 2 days left of the month. So I think I'm going to finish it this month. And that is The Bonus Season by Samantha Shannon. I can't be bothered putting the dust jacket back on for this, so we're just going to look at the naked one. As I mentioned earlier, The Bonus Season by Samantha Shannon is the first book in a YA fantasy series in which we follow our main character Paige, who is a clairvoyant in a world where clairvoyance is illegal and she should be killed for being one. Paige is 19 and she is the second in command of a criminal gang called the Seven Seals, which is headed by Jackson Hall. Now, Paige loves being in this criminal gang, this underworld, because it's the only place where clairvoyance is really accepted and nurtured. However, one day she is attacked, drugged and kidnapped and taken to the lost city of Oxford, which is a city that has been kept secret for over 200 years as it is run by a different race called Refame. Paige arrives in Oxford and she is selected by a Refame called Warden, and he's basically like her owner. Paige wants to escape. She does not like being here. She wants her freedom back, and we follow Paige as she tries to escape from the Refame and go back to London so she can be with her little found family of clairvoyant criminals again. This book is really heavy and I don't like carrying it around. Yeah, as I said, I have 50 pages left of this book. I am almost done and I've really enjoyed it, honestly. I think it's been really interesting. There's been a lot of world building, and in this first book we are kind of just setting the groundwork for the rest of the series. It is a 7-book series, so many things to do. So yeah, this was really just setting the groundwork, but it also had a very interesting story, really good characters, and just overall was really good. I love Samantha Shannon so much. She's one of my favourite authors. The Priory of the Orange Trees is probably my favourite book of the year and one of my favourite books of all time. And I was really excited to start her other works because she has The Priory of the Orange Tree and then she has the Bone Season series, and I'm really excited that I enjoyed this book so I can continue reading the rest of her work because I love her so much and I love her writing. And yeah, I'm just really excited to continue on with this series because it is so good. I love the complicated relationship that Paige has with Warden. She's like kind of afraid of him but like kind of not, and like it's just, they have a really complicated relationship and I really like that dynamic. And I also like the dynamic that Paige has with a couple of the other characters and the other clairvoyants that have been taken by the Refame. And just honestly, everything about this book I just really like. And I think overall this is going to be a 4-star read because I did really enjoy it, but it didn't completely blow my socks off and knock me out of my shoes. but it was still really good and I'm really excited to carry on with this. So that is it. Those are all of the books that I read in July. I think I had quite a successful reading month. I did read a few big books, even though I did not complete my TBR. If you watched my previous vlog, you'll know that I just had an awful reading week last week and I did not read much at all. I'm still really happy. 8 books is still really good. That is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Please like if you did and subscribe if you feel so inclined, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!